Hello children, we are discussing chapter 15, improvement in food resources. In this video, we'll discuss about the farming practices. There are in total 3 farming practices are required to increase the yield as well as the quality of a crop. The first is crop variety improvement. What does it mean? It means the variety of seeds must be improved, must be of a high quality. These varieties usually known as HYV, high yielding varieties. The varieties whose yield, whose quantity is higher as well as the quality of nutrients in that crop is also high. The second is crop production management. The total produce of the crop, that is, in simple language you can say the output of the crop, output of the grains from the crop must be high. In this we'll discuss various conditions which are like the nutrient availability for the plants, whether we can increase the nutrient availability in the soil or not, and how we can increase it if we want to. Next, the availability of water, if rainwater is sufficient or not, other than the rainwater which sources we have, that is known as irrigation sources. So that we will discuss in the crop production management. इसमें बच्चे हम क्रॉप को बड़ा करेंगे, बेसिकली उसे अडल्ट बनाएंगे, उसका पालन पोषण करेंगे, and then protection. Protection means to protect the crop. Which crop? Both the crops. What both terms are there? First, growing crop, जो भी फील्ड में है, जो भी ग्रो हो रही है, just still under the phase of growth. And the second, harvested crop, जो हमने कट कर ली है ऑलरेडी, जो हमारे पास पड़ी है, उन दोनों क्रॉप्स को बच्चे प्रोटेक्ट करना हमारा काम है. And that we'll discuss in crop protection management. So first we'll discuss the crop variety improvement. In this we produce the variety, the seeds which have a high quality. There are certain objectives behind it. Objectives in Hindi are referred as उद्देश्य. कि हम क्या objectives रखकर चलें? What we require in a HYV, that is high yielding variety. HYV. क्या चाहते हैं हम इसमें? So the first objective is, as its name indicates, high yield, or you can write high amount of produce, crop produce. The result of the production of crop is the grains. एक crop का production क्या है बच्चे? Grains है. fruits और vegetables से जो particular vegetable हम grow करवा रहे हैं उस plant से हो. तो हम चाहते हैं बच्चे, what we require is the quantity of that produce must be high. So we must have to develop the seeds which gives us a high yield, which gives us a high amount of that produce. वो जो फसल हो हम चाहते हैं ज़्यादा amount में हो. That is what referred as high yield. Why we require high yield? क्यों जरूरत पड़ी हमें high yield की? चलने देते जैसा चल रहा था, let it be the continuous in the same manner as it was. But we require it. Why? Rising population. Population is rising exponentially. We know बच्चे we are at the zone, at the time at which the population increasing very rapidly and the resources are very limited. So to availability of food to each and every person we require high amount of crop produce. Second, decrease or less amount of agricultural land. As the people are growing, the industries are also growing, and industries are implanting into the agricultural land. You must have seen around yourself various industries, various banquet halls, various the company showrooms, etc. They are opening in the lands where there was an agricultural land earlier. You must have seen, or you must have been observing the vastening of the cities around yourself, and all those land actually were agricultural lands. there are multiple societies are cutting down from the agricultural land. So the lands are decreasing at a very rapid pace. So we require a variety which grows, exponentially, which grows very much higher in the small piece of land. That's why we need it. Second, biotic and abiotic resistance, or abiotic factor resistance, that would be much appropriate term. Resistance means to resist, badha banana. Basically in Hindi, simple language of Hindi, it is referred as rukavat. Biotic means living and abiotic means non-living. There are certain factors which may be living or may be non-living, which affects the crop produce. For example, various insects, various rodents like rats, mice, various birds, they may harm the crops. So we have to protect them. So why not we produce a variety that itself is resistant to it? हम एक ऐसी variety ही बना लें जिसके पास वो सारे living organisms जाए ही ना. What about the abiotic factors? Abiotic factor means waterlogging condition. Waterlogging means excessive water will be there, like floods, drought conditions, सूखा पड़ गया, temperature conditions, the pressure conditions, humidity of the environment. Those conditions must not alter a crop. That variety will be. Although we do not have that variety yet, हमारे पास चाहे वो अच्छी variety जिनकी हम बातें करेंगे इस चैप्टर में, वो चाहे ना हो, but still our science is working on it continuously. Our research work is, under a huge process regarding the production of these kind of varieties. The next, the variety which we want must be filled with, must possess the desirable traits. Desirable means which we want, which we desire, and traits means characters. The various features among the living organisms, among the individuals of a species, are known as traits. So we require traits. For example, I give you an example that by the help of example it will be very easy to understand. First, for example, you have a crop plant. Let us the example of either wheat or rice. We want a variety of rice or wheat that its plant must be shorter, the plant must be dwarf, but the produce must be higher. Why? देखो बच्चे, ये मान लो एक wheat का plant है. Wheat के plant की खास बात क्या है? It has a special feature that the wheat grains are grows at the top. At top पे grow होते हैं. तो this is known as hay. It is used as an agricultural waste. We feed them to the animals, but still we want कि ये जो part है बच्चे ये छोटा रह जाए. क्यों छोटा रह जाए? So that बेटा जो grains हैं वो ऊपर ही लगने हैं, ये छोटा रह जाएगा. जो न्यूट्रिएंट्स अब्सॉर्ब करके ये प्लांट इतना बड़ा हुआ है, वो न्यूट्रिएंट्स सोइल से कम अब्सॉर्ब होंगे. समझ रहे हैं बच्चे? इसे बड़ा होने के लिए प्लांट ने न्यूट्रिएंट्स तो लिए होंगे ना. न्यूट्रिएंट्स कहां से लिए होंगे? सोइल से. तो सोइल में हमें और न्यूट्रिएंट्स डालने पड़ेंगे. तो अगर ये प्लांट में एक ऐसी वैरायटी बना ले जो छोटी ही रहती हो, ज्यादा बड़ी ना हो, और उस पर जो ग्रेन्स लगते हैं वो ज्यादा लगते हैं, तो हमें ज्यादा बेनिफिट होगा. इससे सोइल की न्यूट्रिएंट साइकिल मेंटेन रहेगी, वाटर की कमी नहीं आएगी सोइल. द वाटर विल नॉट बी डेफिशिएंट ऑफ वाटर. The soil will not be deficient of water. So for that we require a particular variety. This is what the desired trait which we want in a crop plant, especially the cereal crop. And the opposite we want for a fodder crop. हम fodder crop के लिए कभी नहीं चाहते कि वो छोटी हो. हम चाहते हैं fodder crop पूरी लंबी हो. It must be and lengthen, and it must have a profound branching. कि थोड़ी सी जगह से हमें ज्यादा चारा मिले. A small piece of land will give us a large amount of fodder. So for fodder crop we require large crop, taller crop plants as well as with the profound branching, profuse branching, पर्याप्त मात्रा में branching, so that we can get the more amount of fodder from the small land. But in case of crop plant, we require the length of the plant must be stouter, must be dwarf. So these are what the desirable traits which we want in a crop plant. Next, a crop plant of variety must have wider adaptability. although we do not have that crop right now, but we are, keep on doing the works, keep on doing the researches for that. What do you mean by wider adaptability? Wider means broader spectrum. Adapt means अपने आप को ढालना चाहिए, किसी भी environment में अपने आप को sustain करवाना. That is what known as adaptation. Wider adaptability means we require a plant which may grow, which will grow at the higher temperatures as well as will grow at the lower temperatures, which will grow in the water logging condition if water is more, and also grows in drought. Although we do not have such kind of varieties, but still we are working on it, and we want that a crop plant must have a wider adaptability reform. That it grows in the lack of nutrients as well as it grows if nutrients will be excess in the soil. So that these are certain features on which we decide the objectives. These are in fact itself are the objectives on which we will decide to make a way, choose to make a high yielding variety. HYV. Now how we produce it. It has multiple methods with it, but we'll discuss only one, that is plant breeding, hybridization. Breeding means to reproduce. What we do is we cross the male and female reproductive organs of two different traits, so that whensoever the gametes of those different male and female plant will fuse together and form a zygote, that zygote has the desirable trait of both the varieties. How and what? For example, I have a wheat variety in Haryana that remains smaller, but the grain production is low. मेरे पास एक वीट की वैरायटी है बच्चे जिसकी जो लेंथ है वो छोटी है, फायदा है बेटा, लेकिन उस पर प्रोडक्शन ऑफ ग्रेन भी कम है. एंड ऑन द अदर रीजन, फॉर एग्जांपल, लेट इट बी पंजाब हैज अ ग्रेन वैरायटी व्हिच इज टॉलर एंड आल्सो हैव अ लार्ज नंबर ऑफ ग्रेन्स. सो व्हेन वी क्रॉस दीज वैरायटीज, we take male reproductive from one and other female reproductive from other, and when cross it, then there are chances that when they produce seeds, जब उनको मिलाकर जो हम seeds बनाएंगे, उन दोनों को आपस में क्रॉस करवा के, इन दोनों को आपस में क्रॉस ब्रीड करवा के जो हम seeds बनाएंगे, then there are chances that those seeds have the good features of both, that it will remain smaller and has large number of grain. ऐसे चांसेस है कि जो जाइगोट बने उसका साइज जो होगा उस प्लांट का वो छोटा हो और उस पर नंबर ऑफ ग्रेन्स क्या लगे, ज्यादा. तो दिस इज व्हाट द प्लांट ब्रीडिंग, द क्रॉसिंग ऑफ टू वेरियस वैरायटीज टू फॉर्म अ न्यू वैरायटी हैविंग डिजायरेबल ट्रेट्स ऑफ बोथ, हैविंग गुड क्वालिटीज ऑफ बोथ. सेकंड थिंग आल्सो बच्चे, अ कॉइन हैज टू साइड्स. If we want the good things, there are chances that we get the bad things, then we will discard them. Chances ये भी है बच्चे कि उस रिप्रोडक्शन में दोनों अच्छी वैरायटी ना आए, बट हम बच्चे उस सीड को फिर आगे लाएंगे क्यों, मान we will discard it. Okay, so ये है बच्चे plant breeding. Next, DNA recombinant technology. That would be not the part of your syllabus बच्चे, but what I suggest you must have to know about it, because it's one of the most prominent technology we have now in our agricultural methods. What is DNA? Deoxyribonucleic acid. It is the genetic material which decides, which selects the characters of our individual. Recombination means to recombine. We cut the DNA and then add another DNA which has a useful gene into that. And technology which we use to modify something. So this is a method in which the DNA or the genetic material of a crop plant is manipulated to produce a new variety possessing the DNA or possessing the gene which gives us our desirable trait. क्या करते हैं बच्चे, एक पेरेंट प्लांट के डीएनए को मैनिपुलेट करते हैं. मैनिपुलेट मींस उसमें बच्चे कुछ चेंजेस लाते हैं आर्टिफिशियल, टेक्नोलॉजिकली, और उसमें वो डीएनए इंसर्ट करते हैं, वो सीक्वेंस इंसर्ट करते हैं जो जीन हम चाहते हैं। और जीन क्या कंट्रोल करता है? कैरेक्टर्स को। तो जो कैरेक्टर हम चाहते हैं उसमें आ जाएगा। द क्रॉप्स विच आर ग्रोन बाय दीज काइंड ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजीज, this kind of manipulation are known as GM crops, genetically, M stands for modified crops. And one of the most prominent crop which we are growing nowadays is BT cotton. आम भाषा में इसे हाइब्रिड कॉटन बोलते हैं बच्चे। B stands for bacillus and T stands for thuringiensis. It's a bacteria बच्चे। On the name of that bacteria we have that crop name, that cotton name, that is BT cotton. But say, what was the problem with the normal cotton? That cotton is eaten up by certain insects, especially belongs to the family of centipedes. Insects have different families, millipedes, centipedes. So these centipedes usually eat up the cotton. Then scientists thought that Bacillus thuringiensis, that is a bacteria, have a gene named as cryogene. उन्होंने देखा बच्चे कि Bacillus thuringiensis में एक जीन है, जिस जीन का नाम है cryogene, CRY, cryogene. It produces a protein named as cryoprotein. ये जीन जो है, जो बैक्टीरिया के अंदर होता है, ये प्रोटीन प्रोड्यूस करता है क्रायोप्रोटीन। इस क्रायोप्रोटीन की खास बात है, इट प्रोड्यूस क्रिस्टल लाइक स्ट्रक्चर्स। When by DNA recombinant technology we cut the DNA of cotton and insert the Bacillus thuringiensis gene, that is cryogene, into the cotton. हमने वो क्रायोजीन कॉटन में डाल दिया। और ये बच्चे ऐसा नहीं है कि चाकू लिया, काट दिया और डाल दिया, ऐसा बिल्कुल भी नहीं है। इट्स अ वेरी वेरी कॉम्प्लेक्स टेक्निक। We require various kind of enzymes, various kind of DNA cutter enzymes, DNA ligase enzymes, which sticks the DNA. That you will study in class +2 in biotechnology. That here is it's just a faint idea of it. So, we cut the DNA of cotton and insert the DNA, that is having the cryogene of bacteria, into the cotton. Then a new variety of cotton is developed, that is known as BT cotton. What was the advantage? When insect eats the cotton flower, that gene goes into the gut, goes into the alimentary canal of insect. The alimentary canal of insects has basic medium, has alkaline medium, that means its pH is more than 7. When that gene goes into that alkaline pH, that gene gets activated and produces cryoprotein, which produces this crystal-like structure, this sharp-edged crystal-like structure, which create the pores in the gut. जो उसकी गट में, उसकी फूड पाइप में क्या क्रिएट कर देते हैं? पोर्स, छेद। एंड द आयनिक इम्बैलेंस टेक्स प्लेस, और उस पोर से क्या हो जाता है? आयनिक इम्बैलेंस क्रिएट हो जाता है। ड्यू टू दैट आयनिक इम्बैलेंस, दैट इंसेक्ट विल डाई, वो इंसेक्ट मर जाता है। उसकी गट में बच्चे जब इतनी प्रॉब्लम होगी तो मर जाएगा। सो दैट्स हाउ वी क्रिएट अ डिजीज रेजिस्टेंट वैरायटी बाय डीएनए रिकॉम्बिनेंट टेक्नोलॉजी, दैट इज बीटी कॉटन। But ethically, or some people are against it, against these kind of crops. So these kind of crops are not very common in our country. 2 to 3 years back, BT brinjal was also there, but nowadays BT brinjal is not available in the market. Why? Because of this, opposition by certain people against it. So still the government as well as the organization are still working on it for their proper processing. So this is what the mechanism of the production of high yielding varieties or HYV. In this video, we will discuss the crop production management. Crop production management is the managing processes, the management steps by which we can increase the crop produce. It has various steps, which is the first one is nutrient management. As crop plants are also the living organisms, living system, they require certain nutrients for their growth, for their repair, and for the processing of their various life activities. These nutrients are very much essential for all the life processes like reproduction, metabolic activities, the growth, development, movement, or whatsoever occurs in the plants. Those all the steps, all the functioning require certain elements. Those elements are known as nutrient elements. There are three major sources by which a crop plant can get that nutrient. The first is air, second is water, and third one is soil. The elements which a plant will get from soil are known as mineral elements. The elements, the nutrient element which a plant will get from soil are referred as mineral elements. Other than soil, there are two more sources, the air and water, which provide the mineral elements, which provide the nutrient elements to the crop plants. From air, the plant will take carbon and oxygen in the form of CO2 and oxygen gas. During day they perform photosynthesis, they do not require oxygen, but during night the crop plants will take oxygen. Then nutrients have two types. On the basis of requirement in a quantity, the nutrients are majorly divided into two forms. One is macronutrients and another one is micronutrient. Macro means the nutrients which are required by the crop plants in large quantity are known as macronutrients, and the nutrients, the nutrient element which are required by the plants, by the crop plants in very less amount are known as micronutrients. Micro means कम, छोटा, और macro means बड़ा. न्यूट्रिएंट जो ज़्यादा अमाउंट में चाहिए वो मैक्रो है और जो कम अमाउंट में चाहिए वो माइक्रो. तो कार्बन ऑक्सीजन आर मैक्रोन्यूट्रिएंट्स. They are required by the plants in large quantities. The next, water. Water will also provide the two nutrients. One is hydrogen as well as oxygen. Oxygen भी बच्चे मिलती है. So oxygen will is available to the crop plants by the two methods, air as well as by water, and that is also macronutrient. These are also required in large amount. So air and water do not have any micronutrient which is directly taken up by the crop plants. तो air और water कोई ऐसा बच्चे न्यूट्रिएंट नहीं है जो माइक्रो हो, जो कम अमाउंट में चाहिए और जो प्लांट्स को अवेलेबल करवाते हैं. Micronutrients are only available to the plants by soil, from soil. So soil has two kinds of nutrients available for the crop plants. One is macro, which are required in the large quantities by the plants. It has nitrogen in the form of nitrates, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. These 6 nutrients are available to the plants from the soil, and these all nutrients are required in large quantities. So they are the type of macronutrients. Nitrogen, phosphorus, magnesium, potassium, calcium, and sulfur. These are the macronutrients. The nutrients, the elements which are required by the plant in large quantity are known as macronutrients, and these are available to the crop plants by soil or from soil. The next is micronutrients. Boron, molybdenum, chlorine, zinc, iron, nutrients which are required by the plants in small quantities, in less quantities. Copper is also there. In Hindi, copper is referred as tamba. So these are the nutrients which are required in less quantities. They are micronutrients. And these all together referred as mineral nutrients. Why? Because these are the nutrients which are available to the plants by soil only. The plants will get these nutrients from the soil, and the nutrients which are available to the plants by soil or through the source of soil, those nutrients are referred as mineral elements. Now we will discuss the difference between the macro and micronutrients on various parameters like quantity, concentration, involvement in structural organization, various enzyme activities involvement is there or not, and the fifth one is example. So the first point is quantity. As we know, they are required in large quantity. They are required by the crop plants in large amount, whereas micronutrients are required in small quantity. जो मैक्रोन्यूट्रिएंट्स है वो ज़्यादा अमाउंट में चाहिए क्रॉप प्लांट्स को, और माइक्रोन्यूट्रिएंट्स कम अमाउंट में चाहिए. नेक्स्ट, कंसंट्रेशन. दे आर रिक्वायर्ड मोर देन 1 milligram per gram of dry matter in case of crop plant. What do you mean by dry matter? The matter which is left after the removal of water. That is known as total dry matter. It's a dry weight body. We all know that the living organisms are mainly constituted of water. When we remove the water, then the rest of the organic matter left is referred as dry matter. So 1 gram of dry matter must require more than 1 milligram of these nutrients, and less than 1 milligram per gram of dry matter. Those kinds of nutrients are referred as micronutrients. Next, involvement in the structural organization. What do you mean by structural organization? In the formation of various structural components like plasma membrane, protoplasmic structure, cell organelles, whether these nutrients are involved in that or not. Macronutrients are involved in structural organization. Whereas they do not have any role in structural organization. So they do not play such role. That is, they do not involve in the structural composition of a cell, that is tissues, that is the plant. Cells, tissues join together to form a complete multicellular complex organism. बच्चे तो उसमें तो रोल है ही नहीं इनका. Instead of it, they plays a very key role in enzyme activity. Why require enzyme activity? There are various metabolic activities like electron transport chain for the production of ATP occurs in mitochondria. Various processes like glycolysis, various cycles occur in the cell of in the cytoplasm of the cell, and those require various enzymes, and those enzymes will use those nutrients as catalysts, will use those micronutrients as catalysts. Catalysts are the substances which affects the rate of a reaction without consuming itself in it. कैटलिस्ट वो सब्सटेंस है बच्चे जो बिना खुद को कंज्यूम किए एक रिएक्शन के रेट को कंट्रोल करता है. सो माइक्रोन्यूट्रिएंट्स आर यूज्ड बाय द एंजाइम्स so that those activities, those metabolic activities can occur appropriately, can occur properly, whereas the macronutrients do not play any role in enzyme activity or in leader in the electron transport chain. And the fifth point is example. Carbon, the symbol of carbon is C, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, these are sulfur, magnesium, calcium, these are macronutrients. And the micronutrients are iron, copper, zinc, chlorine, boron, molybdenum, etc. These are micronutrients. So that is the difference between macro and micronutrients.